What's happening, guys? Chris, VA Travels, here at Leesylvania State Park up in Prince William County. I'm going to take a walk through the Leesylvania History Museum inside the visitor center here. And before we go in, shout out to Donald Ellis Curtis, citizen historian of Prince William County. So check this place out. All right, after the Civil War, the RFMP ran through here. That's the Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac line. And there's a old schedule from 1888. Wow. And lots of nearby stops: Woodbridge, Mount Pleasant, and Cherry Hill. Nebsco near Leesylvania was a flag stop. And here's the trestle crossing the Nebsco. And here's a recreation of the jacket worn by Confederate General John Fairfax. He was an aide to General Longstreet. There he is, stern-looking man. And he's the son of course, Henry Fairfax, the one who purchased the property from the Lees. Okay, Lee, Longstreet, and Jackson out at Manassas. Okay, a letter written to him, to Longstreet. You can pause and read. And what's down here? Obituary. Wow. Need a magnifying glass to read that. Okay. Old Confederate flags. There's the last one. The Fairfax years. Here he is again, John Fairfax. Much younger, clean shaven. Looks like he's in a much more pleasant mood. Yeah, circa 1850s. The artist is unknown. Home of John and Mary Jane Rogers. Oh yeah, this is Oak Hill. This was at one time home of President James Monroe. I've actually visited this. I flew my drone over it. It's a little ways from the road. And the surrounding area looks nothing like that. It's kind of on farmland now. Okay. Yeah, the graveyard out there. And I had read the headstones were reinterred. They were moved to Loudoun County. I had read somewhere. All that's left of the Fairfax house, that and some crumbled stones that were part of the foundation. And it was originally called the Freestone House. It burned down. It doesn't say who this guy is. And some old rifle and pistol bullets. And this came from one of the fish houses. Over here we've got a Union breastplate, saber blade, some buttons. Okay. And inside of a shell. A little bit of action here during the Civil War. And after the Battle of First Manassas, Confederates pushed the Union Army back. Then they set up a bunch of batteries along the Potomac to kind of blockade D.C. And the northernmost was here. It was the Freestone Point Battery. And it was active for about 6 months, October of 61 until about March of 62. And it was formed by a detachment of the Washington Mounted Artillery of Hampton's Legion, a South Carolina regiment. And there were 2 6-pound guns and a 32-pounder, I believe. And that must be it right there. That's all that was set up. And they had a brief engagement. There were no casualties. But the Union ships first fired upon the battery. Fired 10 shots. The 11th shot, the Confederates fired back. Leesylvania State Park is part of the National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom program. And I would imagine this quilt was made in their honor. And a lot of times these blocks have meaning. I don't know what these would mean. I don't know, there's supposed to be some books right there, but oh yeah, and there's a little key down here. See, all right. It says toward Canada in the ground. Follow the flying geese above Canada. Fill the basket. Yeah. Light Horse Harry Lee, cavalry general during the American Revolution. Also became Virginia governor. That's quite a hat he's got on. And some pretty nice boots down here. He's also the father of Robert E. Lee. There he is. And he led the 1st Continental Dragoons. Oh, here's their pennant right here. Pretty excited looking horse. Okay, his seal. Hot wax seal. If you can make that out. And over here, this engraving that depicts him at the Guilford Courthouse. Pretty good picture. The guy's blowing the trumpet back there, the bugle. And I don't know why all these old drawings of horses, their eyes are all lit up, all excited looking. I don't know what that's about, but... And there's George, Mount Vernon, 14 miles up the river. The Lees settled the Potomac, and Henry Lee over here, the one who built the Leesylvania plantation. He's 4th generation Lee to Virginia. And he's the father of the Light Horse, Harry Lee, and grandfather of Robert E. Lee. I'll tell you a funny story. He married Lucy Grimes. Apparently she was really nice looking. She was known as the Lowlands Beauty. And George Washington tried to court her. She turned him down and married Henry. Yeah, so that's kind of funny. And a few of the Lee homes in red here. Here we are in Leesylvania, right between the two creeks. We've got Sully up here, 1794. I'm not too familiar with that. And plenty of Lee homes up there in Alexandria, the Lee Fendel House. I made a video on that. Don't watch it. It's not very good. It's one of the first I ever did. Yeah, and then further down the Potomac, you're going to have Stratford Hall. Some brass ornament pieces. Looks like some drawer pulls. Okay. Yeah, looks like a shoe buckle there. Some ceramics. Oh, there's Lucy Grimes right there. Oh, wow. Great drawing of the neck right here. There it is, Leesylvania. And it's crazy how this was such a bustling area. Now it's all just woods. And it looks kind of like George Washington's birthplace. And this is just an artist rendering. They don't really know exactly what it looked like. I had read outside, it looked kind of like Ripon Lodge, which is not too far from here. That doesn't look like Ripon Lodge. Down here, several of his sons who were all prominent founding fathers. We've already gone over Light Horse Harry Lee, Charles Lee, personal attorney to George Washington, also U.S. Attorney General. Let's see, he went to Princeton, lived in Alexandria, and over here, Richard Bland Lee. And he really pushed to have the U.S. Capitol move to Washington, D.C. He was also the first congressman to represent Northern Virginia. And let's see, what else? He married Elizabeth Collins, and they moved to Sully, a plantation in Western Fairfax. Oh, it's a museum today. I need to check that out. Oh, Theodoric Lee. I'm not too familiar with him. But he was responsible for farming operations over at that Sully plantation. Ended up moving to Jefferson County, Virginia. Oh, wow. Which is now part of West Virginia. And Edmund Lee, he was mayor of Alexandria. Also a clerk of the U.S. Circuit Court. Over here, his daughters. The eldest, Mary Lee. She married banker Philip Richard Fendel. Okay, so she lived at that Fendel house there in Alexandria. And she eventually moved to Washington, D.C. died 1827. Then there's Lucy. She was the 6th child. She lived at Leesylvania until her mother's death. She passed away 1837. And then there's Anne Lee. Oh, she was born 1776, and she married William Byrd Page. Wow. So they don't play. They've got a timeline going back 600 million years to the marine invertebrate, the Paradoxides. And over here, the Jurassic period, 190 million years ago, Stegosaurus. And then over here, you've got a Mary Chippus, a species of horse. Okay. And I think this is the period up to about 10,000 years ago is when Asians crossed over that land bridge of the Bering Strait and then began to settle the Americas. Okay, and they were all the way up here to the 900 AD, 1600s, until John Smith was the first Englishman, 1608, to come up the Potomac. And this picture right here is from John White. He was an artist at the Roanoke colony down there in North Carolina. And it's a famous drawing of his. Some petrified wood during the age of dinosaurs, 160 million years ago. Map over here, circa 1608. Again, that's when John Smith put it up. And that drawing again by John White. And I think he drew this one of these palisades down here. I'm not totally sure. But these are all Werowance villages. And the smaller dots are just hamlet sites. And all the Native American villages were all, of course, along the river. And pretty much everything else was just hunting grounds. Going up to DC. Yeah, and this is how they made canoes. They would take fallen trees, carve out the trunks, kind of burn them out. That's how they would make their canoes. And a traditional Powhatan warrior over here, all done up, holding his longbow. And you'll see a replica longbow going across. Quiver over here. And he's got his ear pierced, a bunch of feathers in his hair. Necklaces. I think they had some crude tattoos as well, bracelets. Yeah, I don't know what that thing is hanging down right there, but okay. Bunch of arrowheads, and you see the they get smaller the more modern you get. Pretty cool. Some old hatchets right there. There he is, John Smith, with his fine mustache and beard. And here's his map. I believe he drew this 1624, I want to say. But, I mean, it's not too bad. It's not totally accurate, of course. This is supposed to be the Chesapeake. It looks more like a river. But, yeah, he's mapped out all the tribes. Manahoacs. So forth. All right, 200,000 years of change. Here it was 200,000 years ago. Then it really receded 150,000 years ago. 120. Back to really narrow. And here it is nowadays. There's a sketch up there. Some old fish houses at the time of the Civil War. Looks like they had bass, perch, herring, sturgeon. Yeah, there they are, some fish nets right there. Shout out to Daniel Ludwig, self-made millionaire out of Michigan. And he donated this land to the state of Virginia in 1978 so it could become a park. And they tried to turn this into a resort at one time. Freestone Point. Luxury vacation and recreation resort. The Jennings Sun Chief slot machine. And here's the Sun Chief right here. And the USS Freestone, it says there were about 100 slot machines aboard. And once you go 6 feet into the Potomac, you're in Maryland, where gambling is legal. So that was the get around. Holy cow, we're in the discovery room. A lot of stuffed animals up here. Fox, turkey, some owls back there. Pretty cool. Beaver, raccoons. I'll just take a quick browse through here. Check out this beaver skin. Oh, skunk.
If you ever come visit, you're going to park inside the world's largest parking lot, and there's another one on the other side of the trees just as big and pretty full. Actually, it's a pretty bustling area. But yeah, if you come out here, you've got a beach down there, of course. You've got hiking trails. Oh, and I should tell you, it's $10 to get in here. So yeah, the museum was pretty cool. Nice place to check out if you're ever visiting the park. And yeah, I'm going to get out of here. As always, like and subscribe. See you guys.